Look, this is just never-ending, isn't it? And despite the bluster from the Labour government, we're going to smash the gangs, we're going to stop the boats, it's just getting worse and worse. 8,000 since Labour took power, more than 21,000 since the start of the year. Do you trust Sir Keir Starmer to get a grip of this?
No,
Right.
I don't trust him, simply because he's effectively said that he's not going to try to get a grip of it. He's going to smash the gangs. Well, when's that going to happen? He won't, by the way, but that's by the way. There are thousands of people in the EU, some 300,000 who've entered the EU illegally that they're aware of in the past year. There are hundreds of thousands who are in France illegally. So the ones ending up at Calais or on the shores opposite Dover, they're not the only ones. They are really, they are symptomatic, and they are an indication of the huge numbers that are over there and will get here at any cost. More will come, more will die.
Alp, I said to Charlie Peters in the last hour, I said, maybe I'm being a bit naive here, but why can't we just send over not only border force and police officers? I'm sure there'll be thousands and tens of thousands of British people who are willing to volunteer to patrol French beaches. Why can't we just patrol the beaches with a good army of people and slash these boats with knives, as the French police are alleging to do now, despite, £500 million a year?
I suspect that the French might say no to that. That's just not realistic. It's not the way we operate. It isn't.
Well, it would solve the crisis, you know what I think? I mean, why would the French have a problem? They're not going to be paying
Well, I
them.
don't know. Ask the French, but they won't do it. It's impinging on their sovereignty. They won't accept anyone. We've been trying for years to have joint patrols with them, and they won't accept that. I'm afraid that this is something that's going to go on and on, partly because our government is not prepared to do anything serious about it. And also because the French, because of the EU, because of all sorts of other considerations, they just will not do what is necessary. And that's stop people, A, from entering the EU, and B, from actually setting sail from the shores of France.
You said you don't think the Labour government will get serious about stopping this. In your point of view, what does getting serious look like?
Getting serious is actually detaining and dealing quickly with all those who come illegally, and then actually getting to the point where we're forcing the French to accept people back. And it's in their interest as well. If we were to send people back to France, then they would stop arriving at the northwestern coast of France to set sail to Britain from here.
So sending people back to France, does that mean intercepting them in the Channel? Does it mean letting them come ashore to Britain first and putting them on a flight back to Paris? What does that look like?
Both. Yeah. In the old days, and still what is in theory possible, if they arrive on a ferry or if they arrive by plane and they don't qualify for entry into the country, then they're sent back whence they came, either back to Calais, back to Boulogne, wherever they came from, or to whichever airport they're set off from. That isn't happening, can't happen, because it's the carrier that we direct to take them back. Well, you're not going to direct a dinghy driver to take them back to France or wherever.
I'll tell you what Australia did. It's common knowledge anyway, but I spent some time in Australia in December, and I spoke to lots of people, Tony Abbott including, about their small boats crisis in the mid-2010s, I believe it was. And they physically stopped boats in the water. They put the occupants in lifeboat-style vessels and sent them back to where they came from or offshore processing sites. When I suggest sending them back or turning them back in the water, I don't mean putting a bit of rope to the end of the boat and then just dragging them back through the channel. You do it properly. Why can't we just do that? Why don't we just ignore the ECHR and declare it a national security threat? This is a national emergency. Why doesn't any government or politician want to get serious about this?
Well, first of all, the English Channel is not the waters around Australia. It just isn't realistic. And even Tony Abbott has said, whether it's possible to do it across the Channel, that's a different matter. If we could do it safely and the French would say, OK, we'll do this together, then it will be possible. But we are a long, long way from that. It just isn't going to happen. And it's really unrealistic to suggest that that's what we should be doing.
Well, Alp, I just, like a lot of our viewers and probably a lot of the nation, I just feel absolutely flabbergasted that a nation which once ruled the waves, ruled Britannia, you know, we conquered the world with our navy, we now can't stop dinghies from their equivalent of Tesco coming across the channel. I mean, it's just frankly absurd. We get bogged down in these conversations about legalities and law and policy and whether the French will do it. When it comes down to the actual facts of what's going on here, people coming in rubber dinghies across the channel to Britain en masse, thousands and thousands as the weeks go by, is just insanity.
I agree. I mean, it's not the nation that we were. Unfortunately, that we were probably instrumental in putting in place the sort of structures that make it much more difficult now than they would have done 100 years ago.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't have happened.
OK, do you ever get the feeling that they just don't care, the powers that be don't care about it all? But, yeah, we'll see.
We care.
Good luck, Labour. Thank you, Alp. Appreciate you being for Migration Watch.